Welcome to I Hate It Here, the podcast for HR and people professionals, making the hardest job in the world just a little bit easier. I'm Hiba Youssef.
Now we're not even talking about actually attracting the workforce of the future, this workforce that is increasingly disengaged and disenchanted with corporate America, who is constantly looking for somewhere else to work, or who's happy to just simply not work. So what does it look like to make sure that your organization is not only retaining its top talent now, but attracting the talent of the future? You know what I mean? And like, you can't do that without data. A lot of people think they can, even now in 2025. I'm here to tell you, you cannot.
Managing people shouldn't feel like you're juggling while you're blindfolded. Lattice can help as your all-in-one HR platform that scales with your business and keeps everyone happy. It's the best of both worlds, stellar people programs and a modern HRIS all-in-one. With Lattice, you can really have it all. No trade-offs, no regrets. Multi-state compliance is a nightmare, but 650 makes it easy. Get instant questions to employment law questions, generate a compliant multi-state handbook in minutes, and stay ahead of changing laws with automated updates. Visit SIXFIFTY.com to learn more. That's 650.com. Welcome back to another season of your favorite podcast. I'm Hiba, your resident hater and host, and this season I'm bringing you a killer lineup of guests. But first, what the fuck are we talking about this season? This season was inspired by a song you may know and love by Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, except it's Employees Just Want Blank. Each guest this season will dive into one thing they think employees really want from work. And today's episode, Employees Just Want Fair Workplaces. And joining me to talk about it is Zach Nunn. Zach Nunn is the founder and CEO of Living Corporate, a media network that amplifies Black and Brown voices at work. Through podcasts, digital media, and organizational partnerships, Zach and his team are reshaping the conversation around equity, justice, and authenticity in the workplace. With a background in organizational change, talent management, and DEI strategy, Zach brings both lived experience and corporate expertise to his work. He's built a platform that doesn't just talk about fairness, it demands it. And under his leadership, Living Corporate has become a trusted voice for historically marginalized professionals and a critical mirror for companies seeking to create real change. Known for his sharp insights, killer tweets, unapologetic truth-telling, and commitment to systemic impact, Zach helps organizations move beyond performative allyship towards real accountability. Whether he's advising Fortune 500 leaders or mentoring young professionals, his message remains clear. Fair workplaces aren't just possible, they're necessary. Zach, welcome to the pod.
Yo, thanks for having me. This is dope. I love the intro. I love the cussing. We're gonna have a good time.
Oh, sorry. We are pro cussing here.
I love it.
I do say, fuck is one of my favorite words.
Hey, I like
so anyone
that.
who's been listening to me for a while.
Salute. And look, I'm just, and as an advisor warning to my friends and family and parents who are going to hear this, because I might be cussing too. So, okay, I like it. Let's go.
We don't have to. We can always keep it like...
No. Let's honor your brand. We're in your house. We're going to follow your rules.
We're just honesty here 24/7, and whatever unhinged thought you have, you're allowed to say on this podcast.
Okay, I got one. You ready?
Yes.
Poop. All right, that's my first.
I'm dying. I talk about my shits more often than I probably should on any podcast.
So shout out to my baby, my youngest daughter, Aman. She poo-pooed in the potty last week. She's 2. And we had a whole ice cream celebration.
Big deal.
Now the next day she pooped on herself again, but we're talking about moving forward, and I'm excited about where we're going.
It's progress, right?
It's progress, not perfection.
One step forward each day.
One little poop forward, and then a poop back.
I'm dying. She pooped on herself the next day. Parents listening are going to love this. They're going to be like, yep, been there. You know. I remember my friend potty training her daughter, and she was like, this is the worst.
It's tough.
The worst. She's like, I've never been so close to losing it. I just want this child to use the toilet.
We've had some tough days.
Okay, but we're on the up and up now.
No, we're good.
Okay, so I love that. Every season of the podcast, I pick like one hot, juicy question to kick off the episode with. It usually has nothing to do with what we actually talk about. Okay. It's just like a fun little question I like to ask. Okay. So today, I'm talking about this whole season, I want to ask this question. What's one truth about work you wish more leaders understood?
We all know that you don't know what you're talking about. We all know that you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing.
I do remember being like so naive that I'm like, wow, these leaders have it all figured out. And then I became a leader and I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Listen,
like every day I'm like, what's happening here?
Listen, I think for me, it became clear. It became clear when I became a consultant, right? So I was a consultant at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Accenture, Capgemini. And so as a consultant, you end up getting like really close to these senior level executives. Even if you're like, because I started off as like a junior consultant, like I think I finished at manager, but like I started off as like a senior associate or whatever. And so you end up, even though you're lower in the ranks in consulting, you end up kind of talking to like directors and VPs a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting. Like you just kind of get up close and the questions they ask or the things you're advising them on, you're like, wait, why am I'm like 25. Like, why am I telling you this? Like, why don't you know this? Why is it a group of us? Like none of us are like over 32. Like we're telling a 60-year-old like how to run their business. And so it's
wild.
It's really wild. But yeah, I think like there's this like belief, or I think some of the veneers kind of come off of it since COVID, but there's like this belief that like senior people just have it all together. They know what they're talking about. And it's like, not only are they ignorant to like how to do their job, a lot of them just suck like at their job. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, so many of them are really dependent upon the mid-level managers that probably should be in those positions, but aren't because of a bunch of other reasons. And so like, that's the one thing I really do wish that like leaders were, it's like, hey man, not only are you bad at your job, but we know that you're bad at your job.
I'm sorry. I'm like thinking back to every single leader I've ever had. And I've just been like, we all have that moment too, where you're like, what?
Like, wait.
And definitely COVID pulled that back. Remember like all the leaders that were like, we know work is so hard from their like house in the Hamptons.
Yo, I remember,
like, excuse me?
I remember when I was working at SurveyMonkey, the CEO at the time was talking about, we all we gotta get back to coming into work. We got to get out of our hiding holes and get to work and da da da. Meanwhile, his background is like the most beautiful beach-like environment. I'm like, bro,
are you coming to the office?
Are you coming to work, dog? Like, come on, fam. Out of touch.
That's how I feel about Jamie Dimon. I'm like I'm wondering if he actually goes into the office in New York City. He does strike me as the type that would go into the office every day, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he wants people in the office every day, and he is always very much like, I'm going to walk the walk and talk the talk. Mm-hmm. But I just hate that he wants everyone back in the office. But I'm just like, is he in the office every day? I'm like dire to know.
I'm also like, I don't know. Like, first of all, like, I'm not a person that stands billionaires. Like, I don't. And like, so I don't really.
I'm sorry,
like,
who is?
But no, a lot of people like love Jamie Dimon, and I'm like, I mean, he's a guy, like whatever. I don't think I understand for Jamie Dimon and like these other like super rich guys, these CEOs. It's like, yo, like, do you think that you're the one making all these monies? Like, you're not making these monies, Jamie. Like, it's all these other people. Like, just I don't know, man. Like, be thankful that these people still want to work. Like, be happy, take it what it is, because like. This whole idea of like coming into the office, and I mean, now we're like on the rant, but like on a side talk, but like this whole thing about like just coming into the office, it's like, bro, like the studies have already shown that like working at the office is not what it is. It's way more expensive. We know it's really about y'all maintaining these leasing agreements and contracts that y'all can't get out of.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like Black and brown people, women, pretty much everybody, but like young, like straight white men benefit from hybrid or remote environments.
Yep.
Just let people work from the computer. It's 2025. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking? We got all this technology. So we got all this technology. I'm still in the office breaking down hammers like it's 1927. Come on, man.
No, I'm going to just put myself on blast. I'm a menace in the office.
Okay.
I'd be all up in everyone's business trying to talk.
See?
You don't want me in an office.
See?
You want me at my desk in my home, no distractions, no one to talk to.
See?
So I do my work. But it's so funny because I did post a TikTok about this, about how the 4 groups that are more impacted by return to office mandates are women, underrepresented groups, those with disabilities, and caregivers.
Yeah.
And I was like, we should just talk about that,
Yeah.
right? Like we should talk about how they are hurt more than other groups.
Yeah.
First of all, the comment section did not pass the vibe check. People were like, what do you mean that they're not qualified for the job? Well, if you're caregiving for your kids, you shouldn't have a job. I'm like, has capitalism brainwashed all of you?
Like, what is wrong with y'all?
Do y'all not understand? Like, I'm just saying these people, and there are a lot of white men in my comments being like, well, it's hard for me too. And I'm like, yes, but if you listened to my wording, I said it hurts these groups more.
I didn't say it was
that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah. And I think here's the other piece too, is I'll say is, I'm not even against people who want to go to an office.
Never. You do what makes you happy.
Do what you want to do. I'm simply saying, like, to your point, and that's the other part. It was like, okay, we have to have some real, and I think like the past like 30 years, I don't know, it's like critical thinking is just taking an all-time low. And so like part of critical thinking is systems thinking and systems engagement, right? So when you have like, so if you look at like America as a country, our infrastructures continue to dwindle, like it's going to continue to degrade. So things like caregiving for either our elderly parents or home education or daycare or whatever, taking care of, those things have become increasingly expensive and harder to do.
Yeah.
The benefits and resources and resources in general are just not there. So guess what? People are having to double and triple dip. It's way better, like, just to let people navigate. Like, it's so interesting because I think from a corporate perspective, give people the freedom to choose. Now, look, if you're talking about open heart surgery, okay, yeah, you got to go to work. But like most of people are just like
knowledge workers.
Yeah,
I'm just sending
knowledge
emails.
workers.
I'm just sending emails.
I'm just sending emails. I'm just reviewing copy or making copy or designing something, but like it's all on a computer, right? So anyway.
Yeah, I had a lot of nurses in my comments too that were like, well, at least you can work from home. And I was like, hey, I very much value, like, I understand doctors and nurses are burnt out, but I'm like, unfortunately, you chose a career that you have to physically be in a sterile environment. You can't be doing it from your home. Yeah. So I was like, I also empathize with you because I know doctor and nurse burnout is like very high, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm literally talking about knowledge workers. And then either way, the comment section did not pass the vibe check. And I was like, oh, we have some problems. We have some deeper problems, but that's an episode for another day. I feel like you're already going to come back for like another episode.
I can't wait.
Talk about today. So, I mean, I said employees just want fair workplaces. But before we get into that, for those who may not be familiar, what is Live in Corporate and what inspired you to start it?
Yeah, Live in Corporate is an experiences management company. And what that means is we're focused on creating trusting employee experience, engaged employee experiences, and trusting customer experiences so everyone can have a fair experience, right? And so the way that we do that at Live in Corporate is we have an e-learning platform, we have a brand storytelling capabilities, and we have data transformation capabilities. And so a lot of people know us, Hiba, from our podcast, because that's where we got started, right? And Live in Corporate, the inspiration for Live in Corporate and why we started as a podcast is because it came from my own journey. My dad is a first generation reader, meaning he taught my grandfather how to read. On my mom's side, I'm the first man to start and graduate from a foreign university. So when I graduated from University of Houston and got into the workforce, I didn't have this super organic network of people to help me. Yeah. I had to figure it out by myself. And I was in the HR field, majority white women. I'm 6'2", 285, like just trying to figure out like navigating the world of work. And it was lonely and it was frustrating. And I wanted to create something that was uninhibited, honestly, very, very similar to I Hate It Here, and really focused on, at the time, Black and brown experiences work. And now we're just talking about marginalized experiences. But really, it was like we started just having really frank conversations. Our tagline for the podcast was real talk in the corporate world. And so we talked to executives, authors, entrepreneurs, elected officials, influencers, authors, like educators, all these different people.
Wow.
That's right. So we might talk like one week, we might talk to like Roy Wood Jr. Another week, we might talk to Marty Rogers, who's like a senior executive at Accenture. We might talk to to April Ryan, who's a White House correspondent. Then we might turn around and talk to W. Kamau Bell. But we're talking about the reality of lived experience at work for those on the margins. And so as time went on, that we end up adding other capabilities so that really we could be a point of solution for anyone who's looking to better engage their employees, better have better insights, and also to build better trusting experiences for their customers.
What an impactful thing to build. I do also remember when I started in corporate America, I'm the youngest of four. My parents were immigrants. My dad came to this country to like get his PhD. He was like top student in his college in Egypt. And he came to this country to like, I don't know, build a better life. And then they stayed. But I do remember when I entered corporate, it was so hard to get advice from anyone in my family because like my dad was a professor, my brother was getting his PhD, my sister had her PhD, my other brother was in like government consulting, and it was like the age gap was so different. And I was like, I don't even know how to navigate this. And especially in HR, with it being overwhelmingly women and white women, it also was like, ooh, do I even fit here?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's tough too, because like I think like the HR journey, like the HR work is really interesting in that when I was young, I came in thinking that HR was about like, hey, HR is about pro worker. Mm-hmm. HR is about advocating for those on the margin. HR is an advocacy position. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, I realized that HR is really a risk mitigation role. And like 99% of companies, HR is really meant to mitigate risk and exposure for the company, right? I remember like when I worked at Target was my first job. I'm out of college. And like, you know, so much of our training was about like union busting, right? Like, hey, here's how to spot union activity and here's how to dispel that without breaking any rules. But here's what you got to do. It was a lot of protecting the Target brand and logo and not so much about here's how to make sure that everyone is being treated with respect. And here's the type of advocacy and here's types of points of resource that all employees need. It's corporate centered and driven.
Yeah.
And so to your point, like the navigating that space was tough for me because then I had asked myself, okay, well, here's what this role is. Here's what I thought it was. What do I believe? And like, what do I do now with like the dissonance between those things?
Yeah, that's been my life journey in HR is like, how do I end up somewhere that's like more closely aligned with my values, somewhere where I know I can be myself and advocate for the things I want? Because I do believe part of our job is risk, but a really good HR person will also think about the people that are there and trying to create like a unique environment. I think it's probably why I always gravitate to startups. Because I'm like, startups, like I can do more there. Yeah. Like, yes, there's risk, but there's more like influence to change things versus looking at organizations like Google, Facebook, Nike, like nothing against those massive organizations. But I do sometimes wonder, like, are they broken beyond repair? Is repair even possible there?
Well, then there's a question of like, are they broken at all? Right? Are they just operating in a way that we don't agree with?
That's a good point. Okay, I want to get it. I feel like we're going to touch on that the more we
Let's
get into.
Let's go. Let me slow you down.
Okay. So you've built a platform that speaks truth to power, especially in corporate spaces. What do you think most companies get wrong when they talk about fairness at work?
So it's interesting. I don't know if companies are getting anything wrong. I think it's about, and we're not going to do this, by the way, I'm not going to flip all your little questions on themselves. I love it. That's not fair. Okay. I'm going to answer your question straight up. Because I don't like that. I was like, I sound so smug when I do that. So here's what
I love it. Do it, please.
Okay. I think here's my thing. Companies, I don't know if companies care about being fair. Right? I think companies care about maximizing return for their shareholders. And part of maximizing return for the shareholders also means like keeping a certain semblance of calm and sameness, irrespective of what's going on, because consistency invites capital investment. Okay. So I think for a lot of organizations, they kind of see that people stuff like, yeah. Where's the money at? Because we're so reactive. And like this late stage capitalist context that we operate in is so focused on short-term return that we have rejected a systems approach to work. So we don't want to understand that, hey, look, let's look at your sentiment data over time, your HRS data over time, including your benefits elections and your time off and all these different pieces. Here's you it keeps on looking like you're like kind of middling in the but there's actually been a fairly steady trend downward over the past 6 quarters. It feels very slight to you because you haven't really looked up. Yeah, you have these little spikes of like, it looks like you're doing something great, but actually if we take a step back, you've actually been trending down. Now look, if you make these decisions to better improve the experience of your employees, you're going to have this return over time. Now, you're going to take there's going to be a hit for a quarter, but in the next 10 quarters, you're going to go up this. People not trying to hear that. All right. People not trying to hear that. People just want to understand how they can make the most money
right now
in the shortest time possible. Mm-hmm. Right. Because they're not thinking about long-term investment, or because in their minds, hey, 10 quarters from now, we're going to have three new CEOs. Right. Like they're not worried about that. And so I think for me, it's like, I think I'm at a place where I think organizations, companies need to redefine. They need to be comfortable with and honest with redefining what success looks like, what their modus operandi looks like. Because right now, even in this market, like right now, like despite the fact that the market is like the market is bad,
yeah,
we're still not really seeing any type of change in people investment. Like we're still seeing HR folks, recruiters, talent people, even strategy roles. We are seeing these people getting laid off, and we're seeing them trying to be automated still. And it's like, hey, that's actually not, we're going the opposite way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so interesting that no one wants to play the long con game, because I also think about this from a very venture capital mind. So I've done 4 startups, and I look at like what percentage of what is like less than 2% of companies see an exit to IPO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you're thinking like I'm an HR person who's trying to build a long-term culture, the quarter over quarter, I'm moving the needle, but it's a little bit every quarter, but like maybe 10 quarters from now, I'll achieve that thing. You're right. The average startup founder would be like, why are you moving so slow?
Yeah.
Why is it moving so slow? I need people to perform today.
Yeah.
And they're also under a crunch of like the money could run out.
True.
So I don't fault them. Like it's interesting being a thoughtful HR leader in the startup world.
Yeah.
Because it's like cash is definitely a constraint. Everyone felt the last 2 years.
Facts.
So how do I do that?
And here's the thing about that too is like, and like I'm on record saying that VC at its most popularly practiced is very scammy. Okay. Like I don't like, and there's this pressure to your point of like every startup isn't going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. You're not going to have a multi-billion-dollar exit every time you build a company. Sometimes you're a little company that started in your garage. Maybe it's a 7 or 8 figure company. Oh no, 7 or 8 figures a year, every year. That's so sad. No, that's not bad. But like to your point though, like in different contexts, there's pressure to like turn things around really, really fast. And that's what I mean about like the systems as they're designed. You talked about capitalism earlier.
Yeah.
Like late stage capitalism has us looking for like returns even faster. Like it's like every cycle, it speeds up and up and up. And I think with human beings, we've reached our limit here, but like it's over. Like yeah. we can't work no faster. It's over, right?
The limit exists. Trust
There's
me.
a limit, and we have reached it, right? People are crashing out, and it's wild because you see it in like all these different types of surveys over time. Oh man, like we're the most unhappy that we've ever been. People are working
the loneliest
we've ever been. We're like I want to say Gen Z is like having like the least sex ever, and I'm like, how is that like? Man, like we're broker. Like, because it's one thing to be like, okay, you're not making this money, but at least you having a lot of sex. You not having sex and you not making no money. And you ain't got no time. And you can't afford nothing. You broke and you having less sex. Typically, I would think, like for millennials and certainly Gen Zers, it's like, if you broke, well, at least I can fall back on the sex. Right? Y'all not doing nothing. So it's like, there's that. And then when you look at like, what's the word? Auto payment. Mm-hmm. People not paying, like people are defaulting on their loans. People are
Wait, did you tell me you saw the news over the weekend with Klarna letting you finance your Uber Eats orders?
Yeah. So now you're putting out a multi-payment on your chicken quesadilla and your carne pastor tortas. That's crazy. That makes no sense.
A jaw on the floor when I saw that. I was like, you want people to finance their food?
And they gonna
Are we
do
not
it.
more worried about a systemic problem where people cannot afford food?
They gonna do it.
I mean, we're already worried about that, but now you're financing Uber Eats orders?
Like, and the thing about it,
that broke my heart.
Oh, it's really scary and sad. And I thought about like, I was like, the thing about it is, watch what's gonna happen is that Klarna gonna come and food delivery, mark my words, it's gonna get more expensive.
It's already crazy expensive. They mark up all the prices.
They're gonna mark it all up again. All the service fees are gonna go up, and it's gonna be like, hey, look, it's $85 today or 17 payments of $22.99. You're like, whoa, what? That interest? What? How is that? Just hey, look, don't worry about it. Like, you got $23, just pay it. Because what does that look like, Hibba? Like when you miss your Klarna payment, they gonna do like repo men, reach in your stomach and take the food out. Like, how does that work? But it's already digested at month 3.
I was like, who thought this was a good idea? I honestly was like, we are taking advantage of people who are deeply hurting right now.
Yo, think about that though. Like, and then like let's just say I don't have to go like the most extreme example of just like, cool, let's say you get paid every 2 weeks. You get paid, let's say your paycheck is, I don't know, $2,200. You're gonna treat yourself to a burger and fries from Five Guys. Yeah. It's gonna be like $115. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm honestly like on this podcast, I always say I'm like genuinely concerned about our future. Like when people ask me like what keeps me up at night, I'm like, the future. Will we have one? I don't know.
The future. It's scary. And yeah, no, it's scary stuff. Look, we're gonna need to do like a part 7. Like, let's keep going.
Part 17, honestly. We've all had those head scratcher moments like, why did our star player just bail? Or who messed up payroll again? Yeah, those could have been dodged with a little help from Lattice. It's the all-in-one HR platform designed to power performance and stop HR regrets in their tracks. No need to sacrifice a solid tech stack for top-notch people programs. With Lattice, you get both. Ready to leave those regrets in the dust? Check out Lattice at lattice.com/no regrets. Swing by lattice.com/no regrets. Is it just me, or does multi-state HR compliance feel impossible to keep up with? 650 is here to help. With 650, you can generate handbooks, hiring paperwork, separation agreements, and more that's compliant in all 50 states. As laws change, your documents update automatically. Consider it your secret weapon for staying compliant without losing your mind. And with 650 AI, you can ask employment law questions in your own words and get quick, reliable answers without all the legalese. No more hunting down state law information, no more outdated policies, just peace of mind. Visit 650, SIXFIFTY.com to see why HR teams love 650. That's 650.com. Because we're talking about fair workplaces today, and I feel like a lot of this like does contribute to this, though. Okay, how would you define a fair workplace, and what does it feel like to the employees?
Oh man, how would I define a fair workplace? A fair workplace is everyone getting what they need to be successful at their job, and everyone getting investment in their careers to go where they want to go within that career or whatever vertical ramp out of that. Within that company, whatever ramp out of that company. Like that is how I would describe a fair workplace. And I believe that, to your question of like, what does an employee feel or experience in a fair workplace is, they're getting engaged. They know that if they raise their voice, they're going to be heard. They're being treated with respect.
Yeah.
And they're being provided the resources that they need so they can do their jobs well. Like, it's very simple, Hibba. Like it's not even, and I think like, you didn't ask me this for the record. I think so much though about like this landscape, especially post the murder of George Floyd, like DEI and like, I don't know, like liberals come in these spaces like, and I'm gonna say it straight, these white liberals come in these spaces and they like gunk up stuff. And it's like, man, like, did we ask for Black Band-Aids? Did we ask for you to paint Black Lives Matter on the side of the building? Or did we just ask for us to be treated like with respect and fairness and kindness?
Yeah.
Right? Like, did we ask just to be heard? Right? Like, so much of this, like this performative bullshit is like, so now it's tough, right? Because now you got like Trump and Hexeth and Elon Musk and all these like Nazi cronies like attacking DEI, and it's like I'm like, man, I don't like the fact that y'all attacking DEI. At the same time, I am kind of tired of the performative nature of DEI, but y'all are turning it into like it becomes like a rolling shit sandwich where it's like I can't even like untangle all of this of what I don't like. But it's like, but I will say that so much of work is overcomplicated.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just overcomplicated. Like, hey, you hired this person. Let's say you hired this person and you know that they are hard of hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, there's certain accommodations you're going to need to make sure that they just have an accessible experience. And guess what? That person who's hard of hearing, they're going to need to have certain accommodations. But the person who's hard of hearing and the person who's not hard of hearing both want to, when they raise their voice to be heard or giving feedback to their manager, they're going to both want to be received.
Yeah.
They both, when they reach out for advice or for questions or want to collaborate with employees, they're expecting their team members to work with them effectively. When they go up and they apply for a promotion or they're looking for some type of rotational program, they both expect to be fairly considered for the role. And they both expect, if they're performing well, to be provided options for them to navigate the company. That's just like, and so much of this stuff that we have like overly politicized and like overly complicated and like turned into a bunch of weird stuff that, like, again, a lot of folks did not ask for, is solved by just common sense and decency. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I thought the black Band-Aids were nice though.
No, I like them. Like, listen,
I'm teasing you.
But you know, the funny part is my 5-year-old, we have a little box of Band-Aids.
Yeah.
You know, she don't really like the skin tone Band-Aids. She likes the ones with the ice designs. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So but that's another power for another day. But you know, I think that's where I'm at is like, and I think in this season where DEI now at this point is just code for anything that is not straight and white and male is under attack.
Yeah.
The way that we get back to some semblance of like right is just doing the simple right things. Just treat people with respect.
Yeah. And I feel like it's such a simple thing you say, but we get it wrong all the time.
All the time.
And I also find it very confusing. After the summer of 2020, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, watching all their companies react, being like, here's my statement on how I feel about Black people. I'm like, wow, these statements are like so beautifully written. What is your performance policy?
Come on. There you go.
What percentage of people are you promoting
there you go.
From underrepresented groups? Talk to me about what you have in leadership. Those are hard things that instead of you writing a beautiful statement, I want you to actually see the work.
Yeah.
And I feel like even in the last 5 years, I feel like I've learned a lot as well.
Yeah.
Like I'm actively trying to do the work to like unlearn things that I have been shown, perspectives I have had, and ask myself every day to question why it is we built the system the way that we did. And I think that work for HR people is deeply inspiring for a lot of people, but also like really hard if you can't get the buy-in and you don't have the type of respect and trust you have with your leaders to say, here's how we're going to do something and why.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, and I'll say this, like at Living Corporate, where we started, and I would say we started when we started, like pivoted away from just being a podcast to being like a business. At first I was like, okay, we're a brand storytelling company for Black and brown employees. And it's like, that's a lot of words. What does that really mean? What are you doing? And so as we continued forward, it's like, okay, no, we're an experience management company focused on fairness. Like that is our tagline now. And I would say that like when it comes to leaders who are struggling, trying to figure out, okay, what is the buy-in? And when I talk to HR leaders like yourself, so often I say, can we start with like an assessment? Like,
always.
Like, let's not,
an assessment.
Yeah, like let's, and when you say, okay, what do you mean? Like we have sentiment surveys. Like, yeah. I'm sure you have annual sentiment surveys and you have, let's just look at like all of your data. I think all of it. Yes, all of it. Like your whatever's in your HRIS system, whatever's in your applicant tracking system, whatever's in your surveys, whatever you have, as well as your go-to-market data, and like give it to us. Like, don't worry about trying to put it in a template for us. Just drop it in the secure portal. We will then organize all of it, tie it all together, and then give you an assessment, and then talk to you about where the smoke alarm might be going off.
Yeah.
And then let's then have a discussion about the relative quantitative impact of these different areas. So that way, when we present it to your leaders, you're not having these aspirational, emotional conversations, Hibba.
I don't be having those.
Yeah, not having those.
I'm like, aspirational is fake.
It is.
You're literally, I mean, I understand everyone needs to aspire to something, but I'm like, I want to talk about what the reality is today.
Come on.
Because that's the only way we figure out what the future actually looks like.
Come on. So we then come and say, look, based on this data, here's where your potential losses are in the next 6 months. Here's where you can save. Here's where the investments need to be.
Wow.
And get empowering people leaders, HR executives with data in that way has exponentially improved their ability to get buy-in from leaders, as opposed to these very emotional or qualitative type presentations that leaders just don't have the capacity. I mean, and I'm not saying that leaders, that these CEOs are heartless, soulless ghouls that only care about making money and will throw away people at the drop of a hat. I didn't say those words, but
just kidding.
We need to start a podcast. This is funny. So
we're having a good time.
It's having a funky good time. But what I'll say is that make it easy for them to buy in. Because if you present it in a way of hey, here's the return, you're operating at a risk right now. Here's just some straight up facts. It makes it easier to do something. And so we've really been heavily doing that work for the past, I'm going to say 2 years, work with some incredible brands, global organizations, consulting firms, where we're taking their data and then running these multi-year assessments, longitudinal analysis. And then we're also, because we have our own insights team, we actually have some predictive models. So we're able to tell you what's coming around the corner. Cool. So it's really cool.
I love that. I'm can you take my data and tell me something?
We can talk offline. Don't play. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Because I might need some help. I just, that's so, first of all, predictive data and analytics is just so fascinating to me, because I'm if I could have a science that tells me, how I'm my intuition says that employee is going to leave.
Yes.
And I know that. And I'm over here playing a game with myself, writing these down. But you're right. If we could take those findings and apply the model to it and actually take it to our executives and say, here's our people who are most at risk.
Yes.
Now imagine the people who are most at risk are also your top revenue contributors.
Right.
Replacing them is going to be 2x their salary.
Right.
Not to mention you have to then go find the person.
Right.
It's a whole mess to onboard them. And you're looking at 6 months of lost work.
Right.
What executive wouldn't say to you, do whatever the fuck you can to keep them?
Right. Right.
Make sure that they feel like this is a workplace they need to be in. Call
it DEI, Jedi, action, whatever. I don't care. Hey, because at a certain point, one of those people leaves. Oh, that's tough. 30 of those people leave, or you got a problem. You got a problem. Mm-hmm. And then you're talking, and Hibba, you're rightfully calling out retention. Now we're not even talking about actually attracting the workforce of the future, this workforce that is increasingly disengaged and disenchanted with corporate America, who is constantly looking for somewhere else to work, or who's happy to just simply not work. So what does it look like to make sure that your organization is not only retaining its top talent now, but attracting the talent of the future? You know what I mean? And you can't do that without data. And a lot of people think they can, even now in 2025. I'm here to tell you, you cannot.
No, you definitely cannot. And the concept of fairness is so simple to me. We're talking about, but it's such a simple concept. If you could really just nail that and everyone feels like they're getting a unique and fair experience, could you just imagine what your environment could look like? We've all worked somewhere. Have you worked somewhere where you're oh, that's my manager's favorite? I know that person, and they get the raise before you, they get the promotion before you, they get the title before you, and you are left asking why them and not me.
Listen,
I can't think of a single person who hasn't had that experience, honestly, at work.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, look, I worked in consulting for a good part of my career. I mean, that was it, right? There's so many people next to you because they're skinny or blonde, or their husband works here, right? Like, or their spouse or whatever works, whatever the case is. There's all sorts of reasons. They went to a certain school, and there's a graduate network at this company, and they're biased for that. There's all sorts of reasons, right? Like, so 100%, I think everybody has that experience. I mean, it's so interesting, like, and it's funny, to your point. I bet people listening to this, I can point out at least one of those examples at every place I've worked. And I'm a classic millennial. I've had, like, before I did live in corporate full time, I had like 12 jobs. I worked at like 12 different places. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, I can definitely call out, like, okay, yep, here comes Allison. She about to get this role because she knows the senior director and her parents, and then went to Aspen last summer or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it happens all the time.
I have a sweatshirt you mentioned where people went to school. I candidly don't give a fuck where you went to school, but I have a really nice sweatshirt that says University of Don't Care. And it says DC, and I'm from DC. And I wore it out once, and somebody was like, "What's that sweatshirt?" And I was like, "I don't care where you went to school."
Don't care. I don't care.
I don't care. Because they've shown the studies too, right? It's not where you went to school that predicts your success. It's how much money you had growing up.
Right.
So I'm like, we need to all rethink. Like, I wish we all operated. I wish every single HR person listening to this operated from the systems you probably have in your organization might be contributing to unfairness.
Right.
If we just operated from there and tried to reimagine what it could look like, I bet you would build better experiences. Your employees would be more engaged. Your leaders would be more bought in.
Right.
But these things that we have done are historically deeply rooted in unfairness. And okay, so I have to ask you, like, what are some policies or system that often look like they're neutral on the surface, but actually end up being deeply unfair?
Oh, man. Yeah, like, it's so, I think everybody should know this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because assumptions do a lot of things. Like, performance management is, like, easily the most deeply unfair practice, right? Like, and even when you try to do, especially, and what's interesting about performance management is the way it's built. On its face, it seems like, hey, we're all trying to do the right thing. I'm going to scale you on a score from 1 to 5. Okay.
No,
it's so subjective. It's so subjective. And what happens is, like, it's built on the leadership providing feedback to their employees. There's all sorts of unfairness that's baked into that, because what if I don't necessarily just want to talk to this person? And I have to be told or reminded to talk to this person. What happens if
I don't want to?
Right? What happens if I'm just a shitty leader? I'm not actually good at giving feedback, right? Like, and so I think, like, performance management and, like, performance management systems, they're so deeply flawed because they're built on top. It's like a Jenga tower of assumptions, right? Like, for effective performance management to work, you first of all have to have the right type of leader in those positions to even give feedback. And also, there's a presumption that you have to actually be providing good leadership to those leaders and coaching and guidance to those leaders on performance management. The technology and tools have to actually accommodate and make sense for the complexity of role, especially talk about role to role. And, like, and then, like, you talk about the laddering process. Laddering is completely unfair because, inevitably there are people who have really good rankings and they're pitted against each other, and someone has to lose, but, like, nobody should have lost because they're both really strong employees. So, like, what ends up happening so often, especially in, like, legacy organizations, is you get promoted when it's your turn, as opposed to you getting promoted because it's something you earned, right? So, like, honestly, it kind of reminds me of a lot of the critiques around the Democratic Party. This is not a political podcast, but, like, it just happens all the time. It happens all the time of, okay, well, Sally's been here for 7 years, and the typical track to get to director is 6.5 years, and she's late. Okay, well, Tommy has been here for 4 years, but has outperformed Sally.
Yeah, Tommy's killing it
by a lot. Like, Tommy low key should be, like, skip leveled or something. Like, we might have brought in Tommy too low. But you know what? It's too bad because Sally has been a loyal trooper.
She's been waiting.
They've been here longer than they've been in position.
Poor Sally. And
we're gonna go ahead and give her this opportunity, right? It just happens like that. I've seen like we've had clients, Living Corp, we've had clients, especially in the tech sector. We've been able to look at performance data. And, like, we've done enough of these now, Hibba, where like I'm like, all right, bet, watch this. The Black women are going to have significantly lower performance scores, but also have a lower promotion rate and a higher turnover rate.
Mm-hmm.
And Black women are going to have a shockingly even lower promotion rate and a much higher, even like in that space. And every time, that's what it is, right? It's like that happens all the time. Yes, Black men for sure, also, but women, and then Black and brown women, like it happens. It's the consistent thing. So we've also seen things where it's like, so we talk about performance management. I've seen where people will get a good performance score, but somehow aren't qualified to get promoted. So like,
why not?
You tell me. The system itself.
I don't do that dumb shit. The system is broken.
Like the system's broken. You qualified for every you've met all the criterion.
Ridiculous.
Right? But you've topped out at your grade. So you get a very minimal raise, but also you don't get promoted because there's only so many promotional slots. And this other person has been here longer. And there was a tiebreaker, and because they've been here longer, they're gonna get it. And you gotta wait your turn. And then eventually, and so it just becomes this like, again, like this just system and pattern of just unfairness. But it happens all the time. But like
all the time.
I mean, like you talk, like what do you think? Like what is like where do you think is like one of the most unfair?
Oh, performance management. My second newsletter send ever to this day. It was trending on Hacker News. It was literally like the most excited I've ever been. So I'm like, yo, if the developers are talking about this, we know what's up. Yeah. But my second send was performance management doesn't actually assess your performance. It really doesn't. And I mean, like, I love my friends at Textio. They put out a report every year about the state of performance feedback. And every year it shows how women get more personality driven feedback, how black and brown women get less quality feedback, how they're historically lower paid. And I'm like, you don't have to pull my arm and try to convince me. It is performance management. And it's also so subjective. And I have been in that room fighting for someone's promotion, literally reading a manager's feedback and being like, this is flawed in every single way possible. And the manager said, too bad, I'm not changing it. Or you don't have the power to tell me what to write. So they write it. Then the employee comes to me, HR, and says, you made this happen. This is your fault. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to fix it. But I also have this leader who I can't control, even though I wish I could. Like, I wish I could calibrate their feedback and be like, absolutely not.
Right.
Also, you're kind of racist, but whatever, that's for another day. But like, but then I have a lot of employees don't trust HR. And I think it's rightfully so.
Right.
I never get mad when people, at first I was like, oh, people don't like HR people. But then I remember every single time an HR person has burned me when I wasn't in HR. And I was like, ooh, okay, I get it. And I'm looking at me trying to build these systems. I'm looking at all these controls, all these outputs. I'm like, I can fix it. I can make it fair. And it's a tug every single time. It's a push and a pull. And if you're lucky, you have the leaders that want to go with you in the right direction. Right. When you're unlucky, you're fighting a battle. You're also putting your personal relationships on the line. Correct. Where I keep fighting. Suddenly I'm seen as the person who can't work with anyone.
And I think like that is like the ultimate rub of like human resources and like in a corporate context.
Yeah.
Is kind of going back to the top of this conversation. Like if you believe HR is the police of corporate America, then you're going to fit in corporate America just fine, right? Because like,
do not associate me with police, please.
I wrote something. I didn't read. No, I'm sorry. I was quoted in an HR Dive article, and I said because it was after SHRM took away the inclusion of DEI, and I was like, listen, SHRM is like the corporate police of corporate America.
I do not mess with national SHRM. I will say the local SHRM chapters.
SHRM is fire.
They can get down.
Love all the love in the world to local SHRM. National SHRM is crazy.
They were not playing. Exactly.
But yeah, like no support at all from me. But what I'm saying is, it's like, but like to your point, it's like, so like there's this ideal that you have. Hey, I'm trying to advocate. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to. And there's also like the reality of, hey, you're still a human being with this role, and you have your own, like not even own career. You have your own livelihood that you're trying to navigate and manage. And so like there's like an inherent
conflict of interest.
There's a conflict of interest. And so like part of me wonders is like, man, I wonder, is like the future of HR more and more housed within like external EAPs or some sort of function that like, and at the same time, it's like, yeah, but like, even if it's an EAP, like the company can still just ignore or fire that EAP and hire somebody. But the point is that conflict is becoming more and more prominent, I believe, over the past 15, 20 years than it ever has been. And like, it creates real challenge because like, to your point, but like you went to the mat for this person only for you to be like blamed. And like, you as an HR executive can't say, hey, listen, actually, Thomas is an asshole and doesn't want you to be successful, right? You can't say that, even though it's the truth, right? And so you got to figure out how you navigate. You got to figure out how you're navigating not only your relationship with these employees, but to your point, relationship with your colleagues, and then like, yo, do you need to be planning your exit the next 6 months? Like, it sucks.
I've had to do that. I've had to have like really hard conversations with an executive team that I didn't feel like was values aligned with me. And I had to be like, I can't work here. Because every day I'm fighting a battle that like I don't want to be fighting. Yeah. And I feel really blessed to work with the team that I work with today, who like in one of my earliest conversations with my CEO, we had a really hard conversation about DEI. It wasn't really hard. He and I were just like trying to figure out like, why are we not getting more underrepresented groups who want to apply for this and do that? And we were like having a really good conversation, honestly, nothing hard. I hung up the phone. Later on that day, he called me back and he said, hey, I just want to say thank you for having that conversation with me. He said, I understood that like took a lot from you. I understand that I have a lot of questions. I have a lot I need to learn, but you took the time to have the conversation with me. And I just want to say thank you. Yeah. And I was blown away. I was like, this is now a person I will go to, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. When I go to battle, when I go to concerns, he listens. Yeah. He actively listens to me and is like, okay, how do you want to fix it? Yeah. What do you need me to do? How can I go be supportive? I've had that and I've had the exact opposite. Yeah. Where I'm told like, stop talking about this thing. We don't care. Yeah. And I think a lot of HR people today, which is why I was saying at Transform, we had very few sessions about DEI, but I think a lot of HR people today are put in this really uncomfortable position where their leadership is very openly saying like, we're going back on our DEI commitment, or we don't care about these things. And you have HR people that are like, wait a minute, a lot of this work is like deeply rooted in creating a better employee experience, a fair workplace. What do you mean we don't care about that anymore?
And it's a scary time. Like, I mean, like we talked about, like, scared about the future. I'm trying to figure out, it's like, man, like, what needs to break so that we can do a bit of a reset, because you cannot be successful. And I think the truth, the reality is, I just wait for some of these companies just to fall apart, because you're not going to be successful if you don't care about your employees. Like you just aren't. Like, the technology is too fast now. Like, I can expose you too quickly, and people will just quit, right? People are also like, we talked about people being broke, but like, the other thing about it is, when you get to a certain level of brokenness, you stop caring. Yep. Right? Like, if you're like, hey, look, I'm gonna be in debt anyway, or hey, I'm gonna have to work all day anyway, I'm not gonna get any sleep anyway, I might as well just go do this somewhere else, or whatever the case is. Like, people will just give up. And I'm not trying to like paint this like this panoramic of like hopelessness or anything like that. I'm just telling the reality is like, you cannot continue to shit on people, especially people that you claim to care about, your employees, and think that you're going to survive. You're not. And then I think that the last part about that I'm going to say is, and that's the reason why I live in corporate, we're experience management and focused on employee experience and customer experiences, because one directly engages the other. It's impossible. I just put that in my newsletter. It's impossible. It's impossible if you think that like your poor employee experience is going to impact the product. Man, simple example. I remember when I worked at KFC when I was in high school. Listen, we had employees back there who were mean, weren't paying attention, were lazy, were being like, just did not enjoy working there, and the chicken tasted worse. Okay,
it's a great example.
It's that true. Simple. The chicken don't taste good. I mean,
they've done the studies. And I know that's a lie, because all KFC chicken tastes good. My dad was the biggest fan of a KFC bucket. That was like this man's legacy, was he wanted to eat some KFC.
That old recipe was fire. I worked in like the golden era, I feel like, at KFC, where they had those big chunky potato wedges. But anyway. Yeah. I remember.
I mean, they've shown all the studies, right? Like the worse your employee experience is, the worse your customer experience is.
That's it.
So if you're focused on making money, how are you going to tell me you can't care about the employee experience?
That's not realistic. That's like, I mean, like, and like even like you talking about with farming, right? So like, man, like they've done studies. Hey, look, the happier your cows are, the happier your animals are, the better the milk's going to be, the better the egg's going to be, the healthier your animals are going to be, the less you're going to have to cull your herds because animals aren't getting sick. So it's like, look, even in the most like capitalistic extractive context that you want to operate in, you still benefit from just treating people and treating things with respect.
And that brings us back to our fairness topic of this entire episode. So I want to wrap with like some really interesting questions.
All right, let's
go. These might be tough, but we'll see.
Let's go.
What is one thing HR leaders should stop doing immediately if they want to build fairer workplaces?
Stop giving excuses for your shitty leadership. If your leadership is bad, stop giving excuses.
Ooh, okay. That just hit me in the soul. What's one bold action any company could take this year to build a more fair workplace?
Work with Living Corporate. Let us do an organizational assessment for you. We're going to take in all of your data. We'll build out all the visualizations. You don't have to do nothing. Give us like 2 weeks. Give you a whole deep down interactive intersectional assessment like today. Hit us up today. It's something bold you can do. Deep transparency, insight to your organization, employee experience, customer experience, connecting your employee experience to the go-to-market strategy. That's something you can do today.
I love that. Okay, and last, I want to end on a good note, even though that was a really good note actually, but I have to ask this question.
Let's go.
What gives you hope? What are you seeing fairness in action today that makes you believe in the change that we can do?
You know, it's the HIPAAs of the world. It's not that there's a lot of HIPAAs in the world, but it's the HIPAAs of the world. It's the people who are in HR positions, the Madison Butlers of the world, people who sit in these positions, the Jackie Claytons of the world, people who sit in these organizations, who have these opportunities. They understand their power, they understand their voice, and they're doing the things that they can. On a corporate context, that's what gives me hope. And then on a personal level, what gives me hope is my own family. I have 2 lovely daughters, and my wife is pregnant with twins. We have a boy and a girl on the way. And so, you know, yeah, I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much.
I'm about to cry.
And so, you know, it's hard.
Right now. I'm like,
no, I get emotional. I get in the feels. My oldest daughter just turned 5. It's hard not to have hope when you look at like your children's faces, period, yeah. But certainly your own kids' faces.
Yeah.
And then just seeing my wife, like the life inside of her grow every day gives me hope. So it's hard for me to walk around completely hopeless when I'm living with hope, and my wife is bringing hope into the world. And then, like I said, the Hibbas of the world, the Madison Butlers of the world, the Aubrey Blanches of the world, the people who are in these people-driven positions who understand their voice and are trying to do something different with it.
Yeah. Michelle Mijon Kim is another one I think of. Kim, Rocky Howard, Tara Turk Haynes. Like I can think of so many people just actively doing this work.
For sure.
I cannot, I don't know. For me, it's like if I'm hopeless and I've let them win.
Yes.
And I cannot. I'm like so competitive, but also like I cannot let them win.
I feel you.
Will build a better world of work, or I will burn myself out trying.
Listen, because all you have is your purpose. You know, the minute you abandon your purpose, like what are we talking about? So look, I will fight for this every day. You want to put me on stage, I'll fight for it. You want to hate me, love me, whatever. I don't care. At the end of the day, I just like want people to have better experiences at work than like I had. Amen.
I'm tired of the bad stories.
Yes.
I want like good. But like also my tagline is like life's too short for bad work cultures.
Come on.
Like I don't want to work here and be miserable. So I'm trying to make my place better. I'm trying to make everybody else's place better. We're trying. But thank you so much for joining me. I'm feeling a part 2, 3, 4, 17, 18, 19, 20 coming
Let's
on.
Do it.
So like we'll make that happen for sure. For people who want to get in touch with you, I mean, we mentioned Live in Corporate. I'm going to put all your info in the show notes, but what are you most active on? I know you from Twitter, which I refuse to call X.
Oh yeah, I'm not calling it X.
Where else can people find you?
Yeah, no.
I'm
not doing that. So look, you can find me on LinkedIn, Zachary Nunn. And then, Live in Corporate. Like, thank you for putting my information up. If you just Google Live in Corporate, I'm not about to give you all the, just put in Live in Corporate. You're going to see me. You're going to see Live in Corporate. We have a good time.
I can't wait. And I'll see you back soon on the podcast.
Peace, Eva.
Thanks for tuning in. Keep up with all the latest HR resources by subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. And if you love I Hate It Here, tell an HR friend. I'll see you next time.